Hi, friends. How's everyone doing? Great. Thanks for ending your crazy day journey here with us. I'm sure a lot of you have spent most of your day on the road or on a train or maybe quarantined from wherever you work for coronavirus, but I'm glad you're here right now. It's good to see you guys. If you guys do want to at any point, we have some guac and 7-layer dip and stuff over there next to a great bottle of hand sanitizer in case you feel like me. So just kind of get that thing clean. So, but tonight it really has a very just basic goal, and that is to get in front of you guys the organizational structure of our production department, so you guys can kind of see the goals of who's who and how it works and what reporting structure is. Because even though this is a volunteer team, we have structure, and for the past or for the duration of this team, we've had structure, but we're looking to make that structure a lot stronger, okay? So what I mean is right now in any given week, a lot of you in the room, whether you do structurally on this chart that's going to be behind me, actually report to me as the director on the campus, we have a lot of direct contact. And what I'm looking to do is create just a very clear structure so people understand not only what they're being called to, if they're called a coach or if they're called a coordinator or if there's a team member, but also who they report to and things like that. So number one, we're going to go over organizational structures like an org chart. Number two, we're going to talk about the A-B rotation of serving. For some of you, that's all you've ever known on our team. Congratulations. And some of you have yet to figure out how that actually works for you. And we're going to talk about that tonight. And then together, collectively, we're actually going to use this whiteboard to write on there where we want to serve, what availability we'd like to have, and things like that, okay? With me, so I know all of you by name, and I've gone through growth track with most of you, but I'm Wes. I get to lead production here, not only at Fredericksburg, but for the church as a whole. And then you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jen. I am the production manager.
What does that mean?
I get to lead all of the production directors / senior coordinators for each campus.
3 seasons.
And I'm Becca Rowe, and I am the Senior Communications Director, so I have the honor and privilege of serving on Pastor Daniel's senior leadership team. And so all of you are part of my department, which I'm super pumped about. Production, also under my leadership is our visual communications team, film design, all that stuff, and the worship department. Although I'm not contributing to the worship department directly, I make a joyful noise in the crowd. But I just, before we jump in, just personally want to take a moment, not only for myself, but for Pastors Daniel and Pastor Tammy, just to thank you so much for how you serve this house and the vision through the production department. As Wes had mentioned earlier today, we were talking about the beauty of technology in the age we live in is that we can reach a whole lot more people using video teaching. 5 of our 6 campuses are receiving campuses, and they receive from this broadcast location. So you don't just affect what happens in an auditorium, you affect what happens across the global church. And so I just would be remiss to not stop and just say thank you. Thank you from them. If they were here, they'd want to say to you, thank you so much. And I also just want to say thank you for your commitment to make things better every week. Every week you make everything you touch a little bit better. And we see that this last month worth of services and Flavor Conference have been some of the best produced services we've ever put on as a church. And I'm super proud of you. I'm super proud of you for doing that. So we're just going to keep on making it better every week and reaching more people for Jesus. But it's I think an incredibly fun department. I don't think people realize how much fun it is to be a part of production. But I do know it comes with a certain weight to it. So thank you so much for that commitment. So just wanted to throw that in there real quick before we jump into logistics. It's just thank you so much for myself and your senior pastors. Thank you.
Thank you, Becca. Awesome. Cool. Well, that's awesome. So I'm gonna just walk you guys through, starting off, what our structure looks like. Does that sound good? So basically, we're gonna do structure, A/B rotation. At the end, we're gonna do all questions and all that stuff, okay? And if you need any clarity as we're talking, just ask and we'll give clarity. I'm sure everyone else does too. So, this above me is a very simplified org chart, okay? So basically high flying level, I'm going to break down what each role does. And I'm not going to break it down per, camera team or whatever, just kind of high flying. So where you can get to understand the actual hierarchy and actual care and pastoring structure, okay? So at the very top, we do have a director level position. At this campus, I happen to be the director. Not all campuses have a production director. I happen to be on staff, which makes me a production director. But Culpeper has 2 production senior coordinators. Okay, does that make sense? So for us in our reality, the production director and the senior coordinator is the same thing in our reality. Now, the production director and senior coordinator leads 2 coordinators, one for the A week, one for the B week, all right? And then also on top of leading them, which is a huge bucket of what that means, we also are in charge of caring for them. So the senior coordinator is in charge of leading and caring for the coordinators. Likewise, you move down from there to the coordinator level, which, like I said, there would be 2, one for A week and one for B week. The coordinators lead coaches and the vision of the areas of audio, video, lighting, engineering, and producing. If you don't know, there's 5 simple buckets that everything that we do gets divided into. So Mike and Troy, yes, you're on the stage team, but the stage team organizationally would flow under the producing bucket, where we have a service producer, which is Mr. Chris here, and a stage producer, which we don't currently have. Okay, so for the past few weeks, us working together is going to be filling a gap. Does that make sense? Now, on the likewise side of that, we do have we have an audio coach, which currently at our campus is Dustin Muncie, and Dustin's training Shantae to do that. So we already have some of these buckets that are coordinators that exist, not coach, coordinator. Sorry. So with the coordinators, I just misspoke. Definitely, I meant to say coach. Yes. So the coordinator leads those different areas of coaches. Okay, but on top of leading the vision and the coaches in themselves, they also care for and schedule the coaches, making sure that they're going to be there, making sure that their prayer requests are met, just having community with them and loving them and caring for them deeper and more than just what their hands can do. And then also the coordinators, remember an A-week coordinator and a B-week coordinator leads the entire vision of all those areas and the community of that week as a whole. So basically, when we have an A-week and a B-week coordinator, they're going to be fostering community and all the teams that serve on their week. So for right now, in our current structure, it's just all one conglomerate. You know what I'm saying? So for myself, it's very hard to make sure, it's very hard to make sure that Glenn and Keith have community together. Glenn and Keith, do you even know each other? Oh, there you go. So it's very hard for Glenn and Keith to even get to know each other if they're not in a structured community on a camera team. You know what I'm saying? Or for Charmin and Shantae, have you guys got to spend a lot of time together? Nah. You both serve on audio. You know what I'm saying? So kind of thinking through some of those things, creating community is extremely important. And I'll go more into that in a little bit. So underneath the coordinators, we have our coaches. So our coaches lead the areas. So underneath the coordinators, we would have an audio coach, a video coach, lighting coach, engineering coach, and producing coach. And they would lead the area as far as leadership, but also ensuring proficiency and competency. So for example, a coach that's in our room who's been a coach for a long time is Liv. Liv is a camera coach. And Liv made sure that Glenn had everything he needed to be comfortable, competent, and have the proficiency skills being refined in you every time you serve to make sure that you feel great about serving on camera and that the results you create are also great. And that's the job of a coach. But beyond just making sure people are good at what they're doing, we're also really calling our coaches to make sure that Glenn's cared for. In this new season, we're trying to clarify in the best ways that a coach on our team wouldn't just make sure a schedule's filled out, wouldn't just make sure you're good at what you're doing, but would make sure that you're being developed as a person, that you're plugged into a small group, that you're engaged in, obviously engaged in serving in this area, but that maybe if you have questions about tithing, what does that mean? There's someone who can have a conversation with you about that. If you need prayer for a loss in your family, if you're going through something, you just need someone to talk it out with. Like a coach is intended to have a community, like a leadership ability like that. I think that for me, if I were a coach, my mental model would be that of a small group. Like if I'm leading, for example, a camera team of 6, I'd want to know them well and them know each other well and have camaraderie and community together. So you see how we're going down this thing, it kind of becomes more and more tight. And then underneath the coaches, we have team members. Most of you in this room serve as team members. And as a team member, the expectation is to execute the positional needs in those 5 buckets. You know what I'm saying? So Mike, you serve on stage team, and every week as of now, every week, we're going to change that reality a little bit, but every week, you're serving as a stagehand, and you're ensuring that the stage is mopped and it's cleaned and pastor's podium looks good and it's straight and the TV comes out on time. And as you're walking out, you're not stomping like an elephant across the stage and all those different things. But what would be great is I envision a day where we have someone who's leading the stage team who's saying, dude, you did that very well. Let me give you some pointers. You did that in a great way, man. Like, I want to help you see how to do this a little bit differently. How was your week? Did you have a good week? How are your kids? Like kind of engaging with that deeper. So as team members, which most of you are in the room, I want you to know that my goal is that other than Wesley Rose, there's a structure of people doing that for you too, who can look at Glenn and make sure that, and I'm sure that Liv does, I don't know, but like make sure that for you, Glenn, that you're being seen, or Kalima, that you're being seen. Hopefully you're seeing Kalima, you get 2 team members, but making sure that stuff is actually happening, and that for me as the leader on the director level, I'm holding the senior coordinator, accountable to that. And they're holding their coordinators accountable to that. The coordinators are holding their coaches accountable to that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like an actual constructive flow that brings a lot of clarity. And what we've been focusing on organizationally since at least May of last year is that our number one priority is the health of our dream team. And I think that a lot of us have heard over the years or in rallies or whatever, where we talk about how our main goal is the first time guest and all those different things. That's your main goal, but our main goal is you. So like for us, we're, we might have creative ideas how to reach people who are far from Christ, who are outside of our walls. But I know for all 3 of us, every conversation we have is revolving around how can we help our teams be healthier? Like how can we help our dream team? I'm not thinking about how Jack can get from Cracker Barrel to Life Point Fredericksburg. I'm thinking about how David can go from joining our team to discovering his purpose in an audio booth, And I think that I know that a healthier structure, like a healthy structure that is this, will help that happen. So in that, I think what's also important to address is in this new reality, our coaches, our coordinators, our senior coordinators will be held to a different expectation than what's been the reality, So for people who want to become one or people who already are one, like if it's something that, if you're already a coach or a coordinator and you're like, I don't think I can do this, that's okay. That's really okay. This is a completely different boat than most people sign up for. I'm asking people not just to be smart, I'm asking people to do ministry, which is different because a lot of you probably don't see yourself in that bucket, like, oh, I'm going to church. And for some of you, like, I know like deeply for some of you, this is your first church you've ever gone to. And I'm not asking everyone to do this, but like if you wanted to be a coach or you wanted to be a coordinator or you want to be a senior coordinator, the expectations, they're different. They're caring, they're scheduling, they're checking in on more than just you, and scheduling before it's last minute on Saturday night and you're scrambling, So, but that is really the depth of what our organizational chart looks like, and the kind of delineation between positions. Does anyone have any questions about that? Great. Would you guys like to add anything about that?
So right now, the department's really flat, meaning that we have like Wes, one layer of leadership, everybody else. And we were talking about earlier, the problem with that is in a growing campus. Like right now, we don't have all the positions filled that we want to fill. There's more people God's sending our way, right? And as the base grows, the likelihood of people falling through the cracks as far as being cared for and developed, because everybody needs to be needed and known. Those are the two things. They need to feel like that their purpose is being fleshed out and someone is invested in helping them be the fullness of who God made them to be. Yeah. And everybody needs to be known. Yeah. They need to feel like and know that it matters whether or not they're here, not because of what they do, but because of who they are. Yeah. And as a brother or sister in Christ. So as the base gets wider, we have to grow it this way as well, or being needed and being known, being cared for and being developed becomes a challenge. Because if you've got a team of, if I had a team of 20 people direct reporting to me, that becomes, especially if you also work a job during the week, that becomes quite a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so nothing new under the sun. We just look to Scripture. What does God say we do when we're presented with this challenge? And a great example is in Exodus 18. Moses leading the people, lots of Israelites, and he's the only judge. So he's the only one hearing issues. And his father-in-law Jethro comes up and says, "What are you doing? You're killing yourself. You can't do this." And he said, "Go get some people that you are trustworthy, and we're going to divide it up and let them handle the smaller issues so that you're only dealing with like kind of the major issues." And this is the first example we see of where ministry and the care of people and the developing of people and the coaching of people gets divided into like smaller chunks. And so this is what Wes is expressing here, is that we're creating the structure to be needed and to be known, to be developed and to be cared for in such a way that it's not one person with 20 people underneath them, which is probably not a reasonable expectation for caring for them well or developing them well. And then also, this allows too for the leadership gifts that we know in this room to have a place to be expressed. Because if all I've got on an org chart is Wes plus at most five people, maybe more, that there may be some leadership gifts in the room that we've not given a place to be grown, stretched, and brought out. Because if God's given you the spiritual gift of leadership, it's our responsibility. Ephesians 4 tells us to equip you and to confirm and draw that gift out of you. Well, this org chart gives more space for that. Now there's more room to develop more leadership skills. Because guess what, guys? We're going to launch more campuses. And we're going to launch more church plants, and we're going to keep growing because there's still people far from God. And as long as there's people far from God, we have a mission on this earth. And so we want to be in a place, not that we're just covering what needs to happen here on a Sunday morning, right? We want to get to the place that our teams are stacked, and we've got, people in line, like over-coached, over-coordinated, people on deck, because when we launch the next campus, we want to be able to send people out, when we send we're sending people to Kentucky and Germany. When we have more church plants, we're able to send people out. So it's to bring structure, yes, but it's also with a strategy of making sure that we steward every person that God sent to us well. Yeah. Because more than money, like I'll give an account for how I steward resources, but Scripture is very clear that as a leader, as a person of spiritual authority, I'm going to give an account for how I have stewarded you. Mm-hmm. And I take that seriously. Yeah. And so, and I know this team does as well. So that's kind of the heart behind moving in this direction is we're part of the largest campus, a growing campus. And the flat org chart is it's going to reach a tension point for us. And so we want to dress for where we're going and what we're believing God's sending us with new team members.
Yeah. That's really good. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so you touched on the organizational structure and how we're supposed to care for our, the people below us in that sense. But how does this then go to a Sunday morning?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So how I would see this going to a Sunday morning is the coordinator being the person who is running the Sunday. So myself, as of right now, if you see a Sunday morning, I'm functioning as that coordinator, okay? Because there's no hierarchy from, I'm doing all coaches up. I'm doing all that stuff. So if I was functioning as a coordinator on a Sunday, it's making sure the teams are set up for success, making sure the spaces are prepared, all those different things. But even then, some of the stuff I'm doing right now should be given away to other people. We just don't have the proper structure
Can we
right
draw
now.
up here?
Absolutely.
Let's draw some.
Let's do drawing.
Guys, I'm an interactive leader. I'm sorry.
You want to draw? You want me to draw?
He's recording it, and
It's okay.
and all
Ben can turn it.
it's my teaching gift too. I want to use whiteboard. So we have a director, and I'm gonna say / senior coordinator.
Yeah.
The reason being is director is a title that we delineate for paid staff, not because we're better, because we have more responsibility, and we want to be clear about those expectations. Because if I get a paycheck from here, it demands more of me, as it should. But for our senior coordinators, that's a layer we put in. Most campuses, as Jim said, have senior coordinators running the production department. Very high-level dream team members. They still carry a lot of high expectations, but we want to delineate what's reasonable there. So their campus pastor helps ensure they're, to a higher degree resourced, and same with Jen. So practical to give it flesh. This right now is Wes. Now, I'm always encouraging Wes to be bringing someone alongside of him that could be his replacement. We call that a +1. So always encouraging that. The next down will be, and you can jump in if anything I'm saying.
Yeah, you're good.
All
You're
right.
rolling.
So let's take the coordinator level.
It's currently me also.
Right.
Yeah.
But ideally, this would be 2 human beings. Coordinator A and coordinator B. And when we get into this A-B week rotation, this will make a little more sense. Right now, this is vacant. So right now it's Wesley, but these spots are open. So we'll be looking for people with leadership gifting. And then under them,
Coaches.
we have several coaches. And some of you
Are.
are those coaches.
Yeah.
Just right now we have 1 layer. So we don't have A or B. They're just a coach for a big bucket.
Mm-hmm.
What we're proposing, and some of this will have to flesh out over time, is that you have coaches over each A week and B week. So give me a bucket.
Yeah, audio.
Audio. So right now where we just have 1 audio coach, we would ideally have audio coach A and audio coach B.
Mm-hmm.
Which we would want to be in relationship together, and that's going to be part of the greater coordinator's job of making sure the A and B weeks know each other. And part of it is going to be Wesley's job to make sure as a broader department, we have times where we can get to meet each other and see each other and have connection. Some of that may be looking at technology and how we can communicate and stay in touch between the teams. And then below the coaches, you have your
Team.
Your actual team members that make it happen. And right now, again, not only is it flat, but it's 1. It looks like that minus some circles. So where you may have, right now, some of you have a team of 1. Chris, we need to expand you. We need to multiply you. I won't clone you though, because we saw what happened. What was that movie?
Yeah.
Duplicity or Multiplicity, or where they cloned a guy and he got dumber the more you did it. So we won't go that way.
Yeah. You got dumber the more you did it?
The more he cloned himself, the weirder himself
That's
got. It got really weird at the end. But you would have team members who are on the A week and team members on the B week. Now, there's some exceptions that we'll get into because some people, this standard, we got to work with them and we put people over process. But does this
Every time.
help put flesh on it? Like this is ideally what the down shoot of this will look like, so that you have a whole group with all the parts and pieces representative that are on an A rotation on every other week, and then a whole nother group that's on a B rotation every other week. And I don't want to skip too much ahead, but I'll give you a little taste. Why? Is because we want you to live in healthy rhythm. Mm-hmm. Burnout only happens when you're not in healthy rhythm, because God created you for a purpose. Mm-hmm. So like, if we've got you in healthy rhythm, you don't burn out. Right. You burn out when you begin to grind because you're not in healthy rhythm, or you're in the wrong seat, or you're doing the thing that's counter to your purpose. Right. That will grind on you and it will wear you out over time. When we have you in healthy rhythm, when we've got you in the right seat, when we have you doing the thing that pulls that gifting, that purpose that God has in you, you can flow for a lifetime. That's the goal. So first is healthy rhythms. Mm-hmm. The second is also we want you to be a bringer, because we do all of this so that people far from God can be reached. So if you are up in the video control room every Sunday, then you have no ability to bring anybody with you. And the truth is that God has strategically placed you in a circle of influence. I can't reach the people that are in your family and in your work and in your neighborhood because God put you there. So if you are always on and you are never off as far as serving rotation, you don't have an ability to bring somebody with you. And so we don't want to put you in a place where we're asking you to do something counter to the great commission that God has on your life, which is, yes, to be a part of serving the body, but it's also to be bringing people far from God. So that's also getting you in healthy rhythm. I hope that answers kind of practically, and you can erase all this because I know it's part of your whiteboard, but how this may flesh out. I think right now it's just it's Wes, some coaches, and everybody else. Yeah. As much as you can serve. Kind of. Being real, right? It's kind of, some of you are in a better rotation, but pretty much it's Wes, coaches, everybody else as much as everyone can serve to get it done. And thank you for that, because we've been getting it done. We just don't want to live there. Yeah. So we got to set a standard that we are together as a team working towards. So as new people on board, we can get them, hey, let's get you on an A or B rotation. Absolutely. Hey, if you've got leadership gift in you, let's see if we can test you out for a season and see if coaches would be a good role for you. Or for some of you that have maybe you've been coaching for a while and we see more leadership in you and we want to talk about coordinating. That could be your right next step. So hopefully that gives some practicality to what that is going to look like. Absolutely. Fleshed out.
Something that, did you want to say something?
Yeah, but I think it was into your next section. Okay, so cool. Now that I've read.
Something that Becca was talking about, where like we can with having healthy rotations, we can see what God has in you. Most of you probably know this, but like in the past 1 or 2 months, we've had 3 different people on our team that were given an opportunity to show what they have more of, and we were able to send them out of our campus to be senior coordinators and coordinators at other locations. Like literally under our nose. And I'm sure that this room, more than half of you are more than willing and wanting to like do more. It's just currently I can't see you. Like I can't see all the things that God has in you. I know that a lot of you, when I met you, we did spiritual gifts assessments together and stuff like that. And I was so stoked because I know everything that God has in you. But with it being this flat, it's so hard to know how to tug those things out. So diving into AB week scheduling and kind of talking more in depth. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is what you're going to touch on too, but what about like special events like with flavor or movement?
Yes, I will definitely touch on that. Let me write that for the end.
The answer is yes.
Answer is yes.
By the way, if you were a part of serving flavor production, one of the most incredible services you've ever put on.
Yeah.
Super stoked. And the team that ran stage, there was like so many elements of things like we brought in, brought out, and that was like a beautiful dance of gorgeousness. You
A lot
guys
of
should be
things.
super, super proud. It was an amazing 2 days.
Pastor Daniel grabbed me afterwards and says, I think we can do conferences. I was like, I think we can do conferences. Yeah, we can do that. Brittany, you okay?
We're not doing tomorrow.
Not doing it.
You guys killed it. It was. We had people, I want you to know this, because sometimes when you're in something, you lose sight of it. And you guys are amazing. Your teams are amazing. You're crushing it. And we always, it's part of our DNA. We look to make things better. So we can kind of be hard on ourselves. We like pick it apart. And there's a part of that that's healthy. It's like, okay, how can we do better?
Yeah.
But sometimes we lose sight of how good you are doing.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible. And we have people from other churches that came in during Flavor and were like, what is this?
We had
And that's what
60
they're saying.
pastors that week.
Yeah, they were impressed. So, great job.
I think what's cool too is on that note is you guys don't get to answer these phone calls or see this, but I've had what day of the week is it, Tuesday? I've had 2 calls already this week from churches wanting to learn from us and see what we get to do. And I don't know if you realize it, but I don't do the things you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the person who's doing any of it. You are. So they don't want to learn from me. They want to learn from you.
Right.
And, you've got Spotsylvania County Schools annually calling and saying, hey, you guys are the only, out of every company that's local, you're the only company. I know you're a church, but you're the only company who actually does broadcasting well. And, they want their students to learn from us. And it's what you guys make that makes that impression. Because, just a reminder, I don't do any of it. So, it's got to be you, But jumping in to the AB scheduling, Becca already covered 2 of the main whys. One is your rest is very important. And when you're serving every weekend, you're not getting rest at all. And then all of a sudden this becomes a job. And that's not what this is. And I'll tell you, if someone hasn't already told you this, your servitude to God can't replace your relationship. Mm-hmm. Your work doesn't replace the way that you love each other. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work that way. You could buy, it doesn't work that way. So having health and rest and Sabbath and allowing you to go to church, for Glenn and Kalima, you guys serve half a day. Do you then leave serving and go home, or do you go to service? Yeah. I want to find rhythms. I know you're serving every other week, but I want to make sure that people have rhythms to where they get to go to church, and even if that is serve one weekend, attend one weekend.
Sure.
Some of our friends like Elevation, literally you serve the entire weekend, no matter what area it is in the church. Every team, and when I say the entire weekend, they have Saturday services and Sunday services at most of their campuses. So you sign up, you serve it all, and the next week, everyone's bringing their friends to church. So there's different kinds of rhythms all over the church world. But so health, rotation of serving and attending. And then the other one, like I've kind of already touched on and we've touched on, is we have an expectation that this team's going to keep growing numerically. And if it's going to keep growing numerically, we also need to make sure that you, the person, are growing. And if you're in a consistent community, a consistent leadership structure, and you have people around you who are getting to see all the ways they can grow you, it helps a bunch. Mm-hmm. And also for people like Kendarick or Michael Haskell, who have gone to be, to be sent to be coordinators, they can be seen. I'm sure a lot of you have the same exact capabilities that they did. Just didn't see them until we moved them. And we're like, oh, wow, you were just kind of hanging on stage every day. I had no idea you had this in you, So allowing that is really healthy. So that's the why. And then I'd say that mutual needs between all of us is consistency of scheduling. It'd be really nice to know on a consistent basis when you're serving for you and for us. It's not, it's no secret. We're a video teaching church. Like Becca said, we've got 5 campuses that receive from us. We also have we have a juvenile detention center. We have a jail. Soon we'll have a prison. We'll launch more campuses. We're doing watch parties in Connecticut. We've got new ones starting up across the United States. And all of that stuff, church doesn't rely on technology, but our church model currently does. And in and through that, we're the broadcast campus, which means that everyone relies on the content that we make. So for me, as the senior coordinator, looking in CCB and knowing that, all right, so Rosie said that she wants to serve 8 weeks, but she hasn't been scheduled in a few, like she hasn't been scheduled all month. Is she okay? Or like, kind of getting like a heart of expectation of understanding people's rhythms and being able to then check and see if, like how that's going for them. But even then, like if I got Rosie serving every other week and I've got James serving on the other week rotation and, I've got Sherman doing audio broadcast on 1 week and David doing audio broadcast on the other week, they're both getting equally built. They're both having equal community, hopefully, and like just rhythms begin to happen. So with need also is, as we've said multiple times, creating a community. So the goal is, like for David, if David's serving on A week audio and Shantae's serving on A week audio, and then Sherman and Seth, who's not on our team yet, but I'm praying that he becomes on our team, is serving B week audio and broadcast audio for an house or vice versa. Like for you guys to like get to know each other and have fun. All the silly things that I get to see in you, that other people get to see that in you. You know what I'm saying? All the jokiness, and for our CG team the same way, and for Master Control, and like for you guys to really have a community. And even more so like that, you guys are all downstairs before rally in the morning, and you're like, Troy, man, how was your week? How was that meeting you said you were going to have? Like all those different things. You would never talk about the meetings that you have, but Troy's a rocket scientist, literally. It's so cool. But, kind of really just creating an atmosphere where that can happen. And then the last thing, which we've said before, it's really important for you guys to be able to be a part of the church, like Life Point Church, but also the large church, in following through with the Great Commission of furthering the gospel. And if you're tied up every week to a camera, you don't get to sit with people in church. Or for myself, I know this because I've allowed myself to not get in healthy rhythms. Like there's been times where my family's wanted to sit with me or whatever, and I've opted, even though I didn't have to, I've opted to just serve on cameras all the time. And this was a lot earlier when I was actually doing those things, but like if I would have respected and asked for, which would have been okay, like an actual schedule, then I would have been able to sit with my sister and develop her in the ways that God was calling me to. Or I would have been able to take my parents to church. Or, and all of you have that person. You have that person. You get to sit with your mom, we all have those people that we would love to do that with. And I think that just understanding the health of ourselves, the health of our community, the health of our family is really important in establishing a rotation like this.
And we're going to need your continued feedback. I want you to know that we want your thoughts and your ideas. We want to hear about your experiences. We genuinely want that. So, we have an aim that, because the unique part about production is that we can't really commune with each other during service, right?
Can't do that.
You can't lean
Doesn't
over
work.
someone on, shout across the room to camera 3 and be like,
What's up, dude?
Where if you're greeting at the front door, as you shake your hands, you're still kind of chitty-chatting, Some of the other teams in the nature of service, it's easier to have community. With production, you're spread certainly at the front beginning, until pastor gets rolling. It's intense because you're calling cues and you've got to have their head up on what's happening. And so we have to fight for community a little bit. We have to be intentional. And so some of, the very bottom foundation is saying, okay, we're going to have an A team and a B team as a standard. People have a process. Some people will work with if that schedule is challenging for them. But then we're going to have to hear back from you. How can we help create community for a week? What does that look like in a way that isn't more burdensome to you? But what does it look like? What are the things that we can do to help create community as a production team? And we'll need a lot of your feedback on that. Rather than us prescribing something to you, it's we have that aim and that goal. We think it will help if you're consistently serving with the same group of people on your own weeks versus just a sporadic scheduling of people that you may see once a month or once every 2 months. But there's probably deeper things that we can do to come alongside to help you guys feel like you are a part of a team that knows each other at a deeper level. So not something you necessarily have to answer tonight, but we want to. Jen, Wes, they want to hear your feedback. I want to hear it.
Well, before or we can do questions first if you guys wanted to, but I actually have markers for like literally for health. What a goal of mine is before you guys leave here tonight to even write what you're feeling, and I'll actually put dates up there now to where you understand what an A week is and what a B week is, because we actually these things already exist in the rhythm of our church. So great. This past week was a B week. Yes.
So, kind of looking at this as you're going to build this from ground up. In my mind, it would make sense to identify who your team members are, divide those into A and B groups,
Yes.
and then from there, you'd be able to start identifying who your coaches are, and then eventually your coordinator. Because honestly, you have enough people for team members.
Right. That's absolutely true.
You're going to need to grow that coach or that coordinator, and that's additional bodies to be able to allow you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now we actually do have enough team members to literally split the pie to have A week, B week, and a little bit of a C week. We do. Some people are in the, well, hear me in this. In order for that to flow and flow well, some people are in the wrong seats. Like for example, we don't need we don't have this, but we don't need 7 CG operators. You know what I'm saying? But if we have people who are only able to commit to A1, A2, B1, B2 for the CG team, we need 4, you know, and a 5th one, like to be in the rotation as well. But where I'm at right now and why we're doing this is you guys get prescribed a lot in life, what you're going to be doing. Like your work tells you what you're going to do. You know, some people in your life might tell you what you want to do, and I thought it was very honoring to just ask you guys what you wanted to do as far as a serving rotation. I'm totally cool with prescribing. I just didn't feel like it was the healthiest first step.
And for clarity, in case it wasn't clear, A and B would be a commitment to serve the entire, like all 4 services.
Yeah.
A1 and A2 would say A1 is the first 2, A2 is the second 2, B1 is the first 2, B2 is the second 2. So for some people, especially if you've got small children, having your kids be in Kids Point for 4 services is probably a lot to ask. And if you have a spouse who can take the kids home, maybe that works out. But we have some husbands and wives who serve in production together. And so the A1, A2, B1, B2 gives, depending on your stage in life, or maybe work commitments or whatever, a different option if the whole day doesn't work for you. So we still are doing an A-B rotation, but it's a little bit different. You're not doing it the whole day.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting that although you might say, okay, I want to do A week or A1 or A2, it's not like a job if you can't come. You know what I mean? Like we can figure it out. The Spotsy campus actually has been doing A week, B week for
Since inception.
yeah, I think since they moved into the new building, and it works out really well for them. When they need off, they call the person on the opposite week, and they usually cover, or they'll
They
switch
flip-flop or
weekends. Spotsy's also done really cool stuff where they have floaters on their team who will be there, and they can also do lighting or CG. So if somebody's out, I can schedule them for lighting, but they know how to do a couple things, and if everybody's there, I mean, some of them are students, so they'll just show up and have fun and hang out with us anyway. And I have 2 camera operators for 1 camera, but they're learning how to do something different. And so it's been really cool because, so you could be one of those people that's like, and I don't know if this is okay to say, like,
Say it.
maybe you're in camera and you're like, camera's fun, but lighting could be cool too.
Mike found out this week. He's like, stage is nice. I want to do cameras.
Right. So
I was like, all right, bro.
Mike might be a guy that we're like, hey, you'd be a great floater.
Yeah.
Liv needs off on Sunday. Call
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Mike's available. So like, don't feel like we're saying if you say A on camera every week, you have to be every other weekend on camera. Like, obviously there's adjustments. Life happens. Everybody wants to go enjoy life. This is just to get you in that rhythm of knowing the person that's on camera next to you, and not feeling like the last 3 weeks I have no idea who the person was next to me or who's talking to me on comms. Because this team is growing, and there are spaces in the room today that I don't even recognize, and I'm here like every Sunday. And so it's going to get to that place, and if we don't kind of start structuring it, you're really not going to know some people. So I say that to say, like, don't feel like that means you have to commit and there's no way out.
Yeah,
So don't let that like inhibit you from feeling like you can say yes to a week.
Chris, you were so patient.
Sorry.
Yeah, also, I would probably add, this doesn't fit with all positions, because you can't have
Yes.
audio come in only at A1.
Yeah.
So across that, we need to be clear on that. And then also what we need to be clear is, if you commit to A1, you're committing also to 6:30 run through.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's
Yep.
a little more commitment as far as that A1, B1, or A1, A2 schedule.
And so, like, I'll just share another complexity with you guys that we find. So right now we are doing split days. We're doing a lot in a lot of different areas. I know it's painful to run most of our cameras are for services. I'm very aware of that. If there's anything that I don't want to do, I would definitely not expect you to want to do that. It's possible, but it's not fun. You know what I'm saying? So we do have a lot, like our camera team specifically has a lot of A1s and A2s or B1s and B2s, which is completely understandable. What's hard though is our first block schedule has a run through, has a rally, has Pastor Daniel praying over them, has 2 services, and then they're handing it off to someone on the second shift that might have just rolled out of bed. They don't remember, they didn't watch tech run through, they might not remember, a lot of details, and then they're there. So we've also seen this thing, that's no intention of anyone, or no fault of anyone, but we're seeing a much different quality service the first half of the day than the second half. Or we're seeing, our technical director who is in a flow and like everything's running well at our highest attended, like number-wise service across our whole church. There's a different quality because they're having to try and catch people up on all those different things. So, I know that, for example, our CG team, what they've found has been helpful is whoever's serving the second shift, even though, yes, they're only serving the second shift, I know Kristen and Jessica have been doing this, they come in the service before they're actually serving and they observe or watch the service or whatever. Sometimes they'll actually just watch the service in the auditorium to get to know all the cues, and they'll grab a cue sheet beforehand and like make notes. Kristen's famous for this, sitting next to Jessica, as Jessica is doing CG, and Kristen's sitting there like feverishly taking notes of like how she's going to make sure she knows what she's doing at her time to serve. Those are great complexities to kind of point out that occur. Yes, sir.
Yes, I don't know if you can get that, but is there like a position description for like each one of those buckets that you was talking about?
Yep. Yes, I will. Let's do this. So everyone here got invited from my email. If you did not get invited from my email, raise your hand. Rosie did not. Troy did not. Oh, okay, cool. Keith? Okay, cool. Did anyone else not get an email from me? All right. You don't have an email in the system.
We should probably put mine in there.
You should probably do. Okay, cool. So, anyways, what I'll do is before you leave tonight, let's make sure that I have your email address. Because what I can do is I can send you guys an email blast with a PDF that has all of the descriptions of the roles. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So my kind of concern with this is like, so right now, Olivia will email us saying who it is, ask us when, can you tell me when you want to serve? So like all of January I was out because I was recovering from surgery, so that can kind of like mess up, especially if we have exact like 6 people to run 6 cameras, so that can kind of mess it up. And then with the community, if I'm in like A, like I'm in community with A, I don't know anybody on the B team, so I wouldn't know who to contact to kind of switch with me. Or like I don't want to like burden someone to like switch with me the whole month since I won't be there.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think that it's one, is gonna be a learning process. 2, it's collaboration with you and your coach. If you're in a position like that, like, hey, I'm not going to be here. Can you help me? Can you help me figure out who to contact or whatever? And the last thing is, I know I said like the goal earlier is like 6 people, but like we're gonna have more than just that on the A week, because the reality is we want to have more than 6 cameras. You know what I'm saying? We have 6 cameras right now and have been locked at 6 cameras since 2014 because there's no one to even run those 6. So like, you know, once we have that, we can operate crowd cameras and blah, blah, blah. But also just kind of knowing that what you guys might not know is some of you might feel like you're the only person in your spot or whatever. And I think a lot of it has to do with, because we don't have consistency, it's hard to see things. But we actually on roster have almost 20 camera operators. But in a lot of different, and when I say that, everybody who's on that roster I've seen in the last month. I have. And you know, the variety of that can look like everything from people, like it's just Liv scheduling all those people, you know what I'm saying? So like there's people that Jeannie and I have onboarded that Liv might not have even met yet because there is so many people coming in. Like praise Jesus, praise Growth Track, and thank you, Jeannie, for really creating a very healthy flow. Like if you guys don't know Jeannie, Jeannie's over our welcome team. Honestly, she helps me make sure that people get pastored. She's amazing. I love you so much. But like we've got constant flow of people wanting to be on our team. This past Sunday, we had a guy named a student named Malachi, like say, I want to do cameras. And he, at the 1 p.m., I said, here's drums and Steve's in your ears and just play with it. And he was super, super stoked. And, you know, we're creating like more regular opportunities like that, or you know, myself and the team are here on Wednesday nights to help people. And I think that what I'm trying to say in clarity is there's a lot more people than we see. And I think that building regularity will help a lot. And also for me, if I have great structure of leaders, I can say, all right, guys, we're gonna have a coaches night, you know, or we're gonna, like, all coordinators come out to, well, that's only 2 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, big group of people come out to my property and we're gonna make a bonfire and like do that. And honestly, since leading this team since late August of last year, I just haven't had a grasp on everything. You know what I'm saying? So this is in hopes to make pastoring very healthy.
To hone in, I think, on the practical part of your question. I'm a pragmatist, so I
Sorry.
like the practical part. No, everything is good. I just want to hone in on your practical part. We're exploring platforms in which you're able to communicate and move to this structure with your opposite week. So I'm just making up, you're an A-week person, that you have a way to communicate with everybody who's on B week. The expectation, we feel like, would be a reasonable expectation, because the community we're trying to develop on A and B is that you're known by people community, but we're life pointers, which means we have each other's back.
Yeah.
So I don't even have to know you well, but if a life pointer asks for help, you're a life pointer.
Yeah.
I got your back.
Yeah.
So you may not know, if in this example you're A week, you might not know B week in the same way that you know their like kids' names and you know, like I hate bananas. But they're your fellow life pointers, which means if we give you a platform to communicate, if you're talking like you've got a one-off, hey guys, I'm gonna be on vacation. Is there anybody who would be willing to cover me on this date? That's a reasonable thing for people to go, hey, no problem, I got your back. And then you can let whoever your coach is, hey, I went ahead and got coverage from B week. Bobby Sue is gonna cover me this week. I'm on vacation. That's one scenario that it's our job to equip you with a platform for communication, and we're gonna make sure we meet that need for you. You're the example of being out. You have surgery, you have maternity leave, you have a baby. We have some people that are in a different season of life, and they move to a different area of the country for 6 months out of the year, right? And they're here with us for 6 months, and then they're like in Arizona for 6 months. Those kind of situations we don't expect you to solve on your own. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna have surgery, you're gonna have, you know, expecting a birth of a child, we usually, unless it's like, we know those kind of are coming in advance. In that case, you'd work with your coach, and the coach would work with their leadership to find a long-term sub, so to speak. So some of the people that we have that are floaters and extra, we would work to either have a person cover your leave or have a collection of people that agree to cover certain weeks of your leave, but you wouldn't have to bear the burden of a 4 to 6 to 8 week stretch of time. that would be something you would lean into your coach, and the coach could lean into their coordinator to help get that scheduled.
I think I might have made it sound a little bit more complicated than this too.
Yeah.
It's just a health structure.
Yeah. So
Like finally there'll be people who are leading our campus, more than 5 of us.
but we do want to get to a place that we provide you with the tool that you could, hey, I'm like, I had something come up 3 weeks from now, I'm going to be out. Hey, B week, is there anybody who can cover me? I'll switch weeks with you. Or if you cover me this time, next time you're out of town, you reach out to me and I got your back. So there's the we're one team, one fight, got your back team, but we want to create, A and B, is known, I know your name, I know your story, I know you know. Does that help answer the practical part? Okay.
And with this, of having that A and B week, it'll make it easier for you to look ahead, right? To say, oh, spring break's coming in 3 months. I need to find coverage ahead. So it'll help all of us be able to find that coverage until the week of scheduling. I know Liv's great at scheduling a month in advance, but some of the other teams haven't gotten in that rhythm yet. So it could be Wednesday of I got to find somebody to replace. But if we're in a rhythm, we already know that, right?
And then you also had another practical question regarding events, and I also want to let you know how because everywhere else in the church is running this rhythm.
Yeah, this is not.
Production is the only place right now that's not doing it.
Yeah.
So we're getting aligned with what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
But so for major holidays like Christmas and Easter, we suspend. It's called all hands on deck because we got 40 million services.
Yeah.
And so you'll sign up for what services that you can sign up for. But we want all of you to at least be attending one service because you're inviting people and we want you to receive.
Right.
So we suspend the rotation for Christmas and Easter, and we communicate clearly what the Sunday out of that is the new rotation. So that out of Easter, are we on A, or out of Easter, are we on B?
Right.
So everybody knows. And then for events,
We actually
you
for events.
guys can speak to that.
For events, we actually have in our department staff, there's actually someone who oversees events. So there's a very new thing, but literally, the goal is moving forward that we would send a communication to all of our campus teams and say who wants to serve this, because we get to do this all the time in a broadcast standard environment. Which if you don't know, every campus is very similar to what we have here. It's just a different scale. So their audio board, same brand, same tactical layout, just smaller. Most of them don't have cameras. Only permanent facilities have cameras that are used by an operator. And then, lighting, the same tactile layout, just, I don't know, a fourth of the size. So there's a lot of Dream Team members across the church that can't wait for a movement night, can't wait for a flavor conference, can't wait for just to get here and get into something that's challenging for them. And so we extend the invite to through Jen and her team of production senior coordinators or directors. Hey, see if your team wants to do this. So that's kind of the flow. But also if we end up teaming with 249 people on our production team, we're gonna have different conversations of how to structure that. Right now, I think this is a healthy starter. So. What's that?
So, what about as a coach or coordinator and actually serving in their area?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, how will this allow for that?
Yes. So being a coach, being a coordinator, from my perspective, I'd love to hear yours, doesn't remove you from being able to serve. What it does do is it allows people to oversee more or less. So for example, Chelsea on our campus, actually Chelsea oversees the vision for lighting organizationally, but at LifePoint Fredericksburg, she is the coach of lighting. So in that, Chelsea serves as much as Chelsea wants to. 90% of the time, Chelsea doesn't have to be here, but Chelsea chooses to be here because she loves loving her team, pouring into them, And sometimes she'll have someone who has a weird day and they're only able to serve half the day, even though they normally serve all the day, and they'll serve half, and she'll be coaching them as they're doing that. Hey, that was a great service. Let's try to be on top of the beat instead of at the back of the beat. Or, hey, when you did that thing, it was really, really good. I want to encourage you to keep doing that. Or with something it's just like points and tips and tricks and all that stuff. And then also available, like Chelsea, sometimes the whole day she'll run lights. She has a smaller team than some of us, and has a lot more people who are like a lot more spread out of a schedule. But for me, like for example, with Liv as a camera coach, Liv could have such a deep team and she could feel like she wants to coach people and not operate, and she doesn't have to operate. Or she could be in a place where she's like, operating a camera brings me life and I want to do that. And so you really just kind of have to, for you, find out, what resonates best with you, and in an appropriate season, either step in or step out of, actually operating things. For example, I'm in love, like my strongest position of worship, I would say in a production environment, is behind the switcher. I love TDing. It brings so much alive in me, and in the right environments with the right preparation, I'm standing on my feet and very passionately communicating through the headset, which sounds like yelling. But like in those moments, like I'm like, there's nothing that can make me more alive. But majority of the time, I'm making room for other people to have those opportunities, and that's a choice I've made. It's also not healthy for me to be that passionate all the time, because it starts to sound like anger. So
I think you do a dance of keeping your skill set sharp, and making sure you're not doing it alone. So I think as a leader, where a flag needs to go off is if you're doing it alone. So if Chelsea becomes our lighting person, and if Chelsea's not here, we're in trouble, then we've not done our job as a leader. Because the more that I move up in leadership, the less I am direct doing in proportion, and the more I bring other people along and teaching them how to do. But part of teaching how to do is she's got to stay up to date on the lighting board, and she's got to keep her skills sharp so that she makes an effective coach.
Yeah.
So it's a dance that you do of, you got to be in it, but you can't be it, if that makes sense. So what I, just to add a girl hurler, because I'm using her as an example, what I love to see all the time, what Chelsea does really well, is rarely, unless she's in here during the week programming, do I see Chelsea at the board alone. Yeah. Chelsea's always got somebody with her.
And even then,
even
Quinn's
when
with
she's
her.
running it, she got somebody with her watching her do it.
Yep.
So I would say, as a leader, don't do it alone.
Yep.
If you're doing it alone, you're not leading.
Yeah.
Does that help answer that? It's a dance in proportion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think some of that could also look like where your team is in the season.
Sure.
Right? So there could be a season where you can operate on Sundays because the team is, let's use cameras again, the team's all good. But there could be a season where Liv's like, I'm going to step back and just coach in real time and take care of, new dream teamers or honing on a skill. So yeah, it's definitely not a prescribed, like, as a coach, you no longer serve on Sunday at your equipment you are loving. But we do also want the coach to have the ability on Sunday to love on their teams in some form or fashion. So it could be being super intentional of, like, when we do get a break, let's all go grab breakfast together.
She's really good at that.
Or how was your week? Of like that small talk of even, those 80 million stairs to get upstairs. Of, as a coach, just being intentional about, like, checking on your team and seeing how they are and making sure they're good. Like, that's kind of the intention of a coach on Sunday is, are you equipped to have everything you need to feel successful today?
Yeah.
And how can I love you while we're here, outside of what I'm doing during the week?
And there's a reason we use the word coach, because we're trying to give you a mental model. We weren't just trying to alliterate, although we like, the C's apparently, but.
Those all see?
Almost.
So
Very
we have
much,
a C
except for
in
that
front.
one.
Yeah.
Cool people.
Cool people. When you think about a good coach, they're with you in the game. Like, nobody coaches from, like, afar, right? They're with you in it, and they're gonna be telling you, hey, you really crushed that, and but they're also lifetime in the game gonna be like, hey, next time do it a little different. And that should bring us a team member a sense of, like, security. If I've got someone next to me, especially if I'm new, and they're like, okay, all right, let's time the lyrics a little bit different, but I'm right here. I got you. That was awesome. We all need coaches. Coaches tend to be some of the most impactful people in our lives, the people that
Oh, yeah.
really know us, really care about us, and they're in the game with us, helping us be better.
Yeah.
So if we could have a mental model, you can't be absent from the game and be coaching, like you got to be in it. But your focus shifts. And this is part of, as you were praying through and evaluating whether maybe God's calling you to some of these vacancies, is the higher you rise in leadership, the more your pleasure and your joy has to be derived from seeing other people succeed than doing the actual thing itself. And this is not a right or wrong thing. Bishop T.D. Jakes says you can't put in people what God left out. That's not an insulting thing, but you got to be you. So you make a terrible somebody else, but you make an awesome you. And not everybody's called to leadership. They're not, and that's okay, because it's not a right or wrong. If what fills your cup up and what makes you just want to charge hell with a water pistol is actually running the camera, then that's probably what you should be doing.
Right.
But as you raise in leadership, if you get super pumped teaching somebody else how to run that camera, and you still like it, but where your joy is, I'm going to watch somebody else shine and I'm going to help them be the best they can be, the more you rise. Like, I have to get my joy out of being like, helping them stack up wins. Where it's just about how can I make Wes great. Then leadership at a higher level is probably for you. And so it is a little bit of a dance, but just, as you're praying through, a coach and a coordinator disproportionately have got to get a lot of joy out of watching their team rack up wins.
Yeah, for sure.
Versus it being them actually doing the thing. If that makes sense. So.
And the other side of that is the coordinator part, because you said coordinator. The coordinator would look more of like somebody that's probably not serving in one of those roles on Sunday.
Managing the whole picture.
Absolutely.
The feedback parts, those are great parts. They're going to have more conversation with coaches of like, hey, here's where we could, change some of that, or hey, guess what, guys? Last minute, we're going to change something that we just found out about. Like that's kind of going to be their role, and they're going to do with the smile, and and a lot of that like loving at the same time. When we're all walking up 87 stairs together, we'll all talk together. It's the same thing, but not at a space, so that they're available should anything need to happen or go on.
I think the last thing too in the structural part is like, the team member and the coordinator should have community with each other, but if a coordinator has feedback, it shouldn't be hitting the team member. It should be hitting the coordinator, and the coordinator should be hitting the coach. You know what I'm saying? Like every single Sunday, I've got a lot of feedback, but there's probably only 4 or 5 of you in this room that ever hear my feedback of what I think could be better. Because the 4 or 5 of you that I give it to, you've been entrusted with making your areas better. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, Chris gets the brunt of everything that I see with my eyes that we need to make better in between services. We've formed the intimate relationship where he knows that we're just making it better. I don't feel any kind of way. We're just going to win, and we're going to see people meet Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And so like just kind of community is the whole thing. But, so there's feedback loops. Like, for example, this, like, none of this is new to you guys. Most of you serve in the government or some kind of corporate structure where this is all like, duh. These guys are just now doing this. So like, thinking about like, you're not going to give, someone 3 tiers beneath you feedback. You're going to give it to the person who reports to you. You know what I'm saying? Or, So cool. Well, if you guys are comfortable with it, I've got some whiteboard markers if you want to mark up the board. If not, that's cool. They've even they're from Chelsea. I think Chelsea bought them from me. They've got erasers on the top of them. Yes, ma'am.
So I know the food board erasers, you can erase them, right? So how set in stone are you? Because right now, we're going through freedom at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And for me to sign
I'm
up
so
to stay here until 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Without a break in between, no lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to freedom.
Sitting here in the county.
No, you
Right.
don't.
Sitting here county, which is, I'm sorry, shocking to me because it's like 7 weeks to get.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
You gonna be married?
I've only got 5 weeks more left of freedom.
Yeah.
So if I said to you, I want to do TA, but right now I can only do TA1.
That's fine.
It's
totally fine.
Can I jump back?
Of course you can.
Yeah. There's nothing on here. I mean, like, guys, I don't want you to feel like we're limiting what you can do.
Because here's the cool
Just
thing.
want to help you
is
see what we can do.
We can put you on A1 and then James will serve A2.
Yeah.
And then when you come back and you're like, hey, I want to do A1 all week or A all week, James is called to a lot of things. So it might be like, oh, this is perfect. God's going to align it to where you're serving where you're supposed to be and the other person serving where they're supposed to be.
Can you put her on team B and I'll be on A? I have to see her
Stop it.
Oh my gosh.
We are not going to encourage that.
You're 7 weeks from eternity. Don't start that now.
Hey, I'm excited you guys are at Freedom Zone. By the way, I'll do my Freedom plug.
Yes.
You'll see me at Freedom Conference.
Yes.
Everyone should go to Freedom Group.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And we will make whatever accommodations we need to make
Yeah.
for you to go to
Absolutely.
Freedom
Yeah.
if you need it.
Always
That's
more
awesome.
important.
Well,
What's up,
sometimes
man?
you gotta repeat. That's why I need it. So I keep getting it every semester.
On a similar note, so I'm still living in prison, and so, you know, during freedom, you get busy.
You get what?
Busy, yes sir you do.
Busy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've always felt called to leadership, and I see these roles and I want to fulfill them, but, I mean, when I'm trying to juggle freedom and this at the same time, is there areas where maybe you can be in the leadership role for a certain amount of time, and then, like, you know, I get slammed right back into the full freedom curriculum, that maybe I can, you know, take off a semester?
I think there probably is areas. We don't really have those areas yet. I mean, we do. So let me clarify this. Like in serving, like as a coordinator, for example, like we're trying to create consistency in that area. But like an area like serving with Jeannie, where clearly, like definitely no offense to Jeannie, but like she's meeting new people every week. That every single week is a fresh flux of people coming in. Now we need a high level of leadership of people who know how to cultivate community and be able to create opportunities for people to serve and all those different things. Which like Jeannie's is one of my leader, like on the coach level. Like I didn't say her area because it's a sixth one and it gets confusing to you guys, but like there are areas, we just don't have them all mapped out yet.
And I also think there's an opportunity to date before you get engaged.
Yes.
And date before you get married. Right?
Yes.
What I mean by that is sometimes you look at a role and you go, I might think coaching, but I don't know. How's that going to fit in my life? How's it going to, like, we can set up a scenario in which you shadow a coach, you try out coaching for a season that is like, I'm going to try this out for this set of time, and we'll evaluate at the end whether we all feel good about it still. Yeah. So part of it for you could be checking out even how, if you feel drawn to one of these roles, it feels in the reality of your life.
Yeah.
Because right now, you've not worn it. So you don't know what that feels like with everything else you've got going on. So there's a lot of options that aren't, and none of it is set in stone.
Yeah.
Because the Holy Spirit doesn't work like that, and the rhythms of your life don't work like that. And so we tend to talk in terms of seasons. What does the season of your life look at? What is God calling you to do in this season? And it's our job to equip you to be the fullness of what that in whatever season you're in. Mm-hmm. And then when God moves you to the next season, we try to help you roll with that season. So I've had seasons in my life that it's flexed and it's looked different. I've also had people that we've tried out. They're like, I'm not sure that I can do Freedom Group plus this. Well, I'm like, well, let's try it out and see how it feels. And if it doesn't feel good,
Freedom Group comes first.
You get freedom.
Yeah. If that's ever a question, yes, Freedom Group comes first. Group comes first.
So there's always options. I think Wes's point is there's some of these roles we wouldn't want to like semester to semester jerk people around with a leader. But season to season could look different. And there could be times that where we want depth to a bench, that if we train you up to be, and I'm just using this, to a coach level of skill sets, that maybe you fill in if we've got a coach that's out, that you feel comfortable to be a sub in that area to walk in and help a team be successful on the weekend. So there's a lot of options on the table for what that could look like.
Ben, do you have a question?
Yeah, there's just a couple things that, I don't know, just hearing everyone say, talk, that I wanted to just point out that, like, I just want to remind everyone, this is like a rough draft pretty much. So this is, this is going to adapt and change. So like, I feel like there's maybe some concern and some hesitancy from people, but we're just getting the groundwork going here, and it's going to get better. But we want to get some feedback so we can move forward. And also, I would say, like, to your question, like, we're trying to make it, correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I can see is we're trying to make it stable for everyone. But if you, like, are jacked and you just want to eat, sleep, and drink this, no one's putting a limitation to how much you can serve. So if you just want to say, hey, like, I want to serve every service, but we're not promoting that. But if you say, I just want to go and do it at another level, then no one's going to say we're not going to allow that.
Yeah, we just want you to make sure you go to church.
Yeah, and then, so yeah, I mean, but then I just remind everyone that I would just say from my perspective, this is an opportunity for each and every one of you to, like, be uplifted, because you're part of a movement here, and you're part of this volunteer army where we're literally taking battleground against the enemy, and God's going to uplift you. So just keep that in mind, that what you're doing right now really matters, and your role wherever it's at is, God's not going to keep you there if you, like, based on what we're talking tonight. God's going to see where you're at, and if you want to move to something else, just be the best of what you can be in that role. And at that next season, like Becca was saying, you're going to be like, God's going to promote you. But you just, that's going to definitely happen for each and every one. But then I would just say, for the people who are maybe like a coordinator or a coach or whatever, just to remind everyone, just stay humble, because it doesn't mean that you're quote unquote above someone, So anyway, those are just some things that I didn't hear anyone mention. I was just like,
When you raise the leadership, you lay down rights and pick up responsibility.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like.
Definitely gets very humbling very fast.
You lay down rights and pick up responsibilities. And it's a joy to do it if you're called to do it. So that's the part that I learned. I'll be quiet because I'm a talker, and I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, so I'm not shy about talking either. But is for this team right here, our bottom line responsibility at the end of the day to all of you is to equip you and to come alongside and serve you, to be the fullness of who God created you to be, and to help you execute whatever He's assigned you in this season of your life. And so at the end of the day, we have responsibility to bring order and structure because we serve a God of order, but we will work with anybody in any way situation because people have a process. And so if you feel called to this team, if you're feeling stirred and you feel like maybe God's given you a gift of leadership and you think there might be an opportunity in this new structure, but you're not sure practically how that's going to work out, please don't dismiss that. Come talk. Come talk to Jen. Come talk to Wes. Let us help you contextualize that and find a way to be successful in your season. Because at the end of the day, that's our responsibility.
Yeah.
It's to help resource you and equip you to be able to walk it out fully. So.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Did you have something?
So for audio, what about like on Thursdays for like worship, practice rehearsal?
So when we get on a healthy rotation with a healthy depth, the goal would be the person who's serving that Sunday would get to do that because it sets you up for success for your Sunday. Now, however, in that same sense, if you can't make it to Thursday, like it's where rotation comes in of people or us finding other solutions.
Phone a friend.
Yeah.
Phone Christian Powell. He always wants to do it.
Yeah. Cool. Any more questions?
These are great questions.
Sweet. I want some markers. Ooh, this is fun. I've got raspberry, avocado. That's disgusting. Blueberry. Blueberry. Blue raspberry. Yeah. What did you say this one? Oh yeah, green apple.
Yeah, avocado.
Well, avocado green. You know what I'm saying? Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, then our next step is for you to send me an email and let me know which serving rotation that you would like to be a part of. Also, if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns or anything like that, please let me know. If you don't know, my email is wrose@lifepoint.org or my phone number is 540-656-6793. I love you guys. Thank you so much for serving on this team. As Becca said at the beginning, we are so grateful for you. You are amazing at everything that you do, and we are so blessed to have you on our team. I love you. Take care.